Good evening. The City Council Local Redevelopment Authority Board meetings are now in session. Today is Tuesday, September 12th, 2023. It is 6 p.m. Please rise.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing.
Let us pray. Father God, we just come before you this evening and we thank you for this great city of Riverbank. Lord, we thank you for the council that's before us, the city staff, and Lord, and the dedication that they have in seeing that this city continues to develop in the best way. Lord, I thank you that this is an opportunity tonight for us as the public to be able to discuss and share our concerns. And Lord, I just ask that, Lord, as we do that, that it's not a spirit of division, but it's an opportunity for us to get to know each other. Lord, we thank you that our voices will be heard. We thank you that counsel will be made. And then moving forward, this city will continue to be the city that everyone wants it to be and loves to live in. We turn this meeting over to you now. In Jesus' name, amen.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Uribe,
Here.
Councilmember Jones Cruz,
Here.
Councilmember Barbara Martinez,
Here.
Vice Mayor Hernandez,
Here.
Mayor O'Brien.
Here. Any council or authority member or staff has a direct conflict of interest on any scheduled agenda item to be considered is to declare the conflict at this time.
And I do believe I have a potential conflict of interest for item 11.1. So I will recuse myself.
Thank you. Item 7.1, presentation from StanCOG on the unmet transit needs. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you for having us. During the presentation is going to pop up there. Well, we'll go ahead. Anyway, yes, my name is Jean Folletta, and I'm the Director of Mobility Programs with the Stanislaus Council of Governments. And we really appreciate you allowing us to come before you tonight for the kickoff of the Unmet Transit Needs process. Thank you. I'm sorry, where do I point it? Okay. Oh, there we go. So what is the Unmet Transit Needs process? StanCOG has to do this Unmet Transit Needs process annually every year. And it's connected to the Transportation Development Act. So basically it's connected to money in the long run. The Transportation Development Act, or TDA, requires that we do this each year, the Unmet Transit Needs process. And here are the basic requirements. I'm not going to read them all to you, but the basic requirements of what we must do in order to be compliant with the regulations. This next slide shows you all the sort of steps to this. You can see that we start in September, and then we're September through November, we're doing a bunch of outreach. And outreach is very important in this process because what we're trying to ascertain is whether or not there are any transit needs that are out there in the community that are not being met with the existing services that we have. And so, of course, that means coming out to the jurisdictions, letting you know that this is what we're doing and this is what is happening so that you can educate your constituents. We'll also be doing a lot of outreach. I call it boots on the ground type outreach at the transit stations. We're calling them sort of pop-up events. And that will be so that we get people that are actually riding the bus. When they're getting off the bus, we'll be giving them a prize if they fill out the survey. The survey will tell us and inform us of any transit needs that they think we're missing. Then we have to publicize that we're going to have a public hearing 30 days before the public hearing. And then we start evaluating the comments. I'll go into that in a little bit. And then We prepared this report called the Unmet Transit Needs Analysis Report, and there's a 30-day public comment period on that. So it's easy to see there's a lot of outreach and public involvement of those that care to be involved. This year, we really wanted to take a team approach onto how we went about our outreach efforts. And so we're working with MOVE, and we have Alicia Rodriguez here. She's Director of Programs from MOVE. We have Stan RTA and Turlock Transit all combining together to make the outreach very robust and make sure that we're hitting the areas that we need to hit. I talked a little bit about the pop-up events, and Stan RTA, MOVE, and Turlock, they'll provide updates when they can to their constituents. And then MOVE also, as part of what they do on a daily basis, is they go out and teach people how to ride the bus. And so they'll be giving out those flyers while they're on the bus to have people sign up and or take a survey. And this is the flyer, and you can a flyer that we have. It's in both English and Spanish that will be distributed. You have a bunch here that I've left, and you can see there's a little QR code on there, and so it makes it really easy, especially for those that are nimble with their fingers, to go ahead, scan the QR code, and then take the survey right there. Then like when they're getting off the bus, and that's where we would, at that point, they chose, we did the survey, and we give them some sort of swag that we have. We'll also be doing social media posts. This information is posted on our website, and then also the links to the Turlock, Stan RTA, Turlock, and MOVE's website. So what are the next steps? So we went over the outreach. After that, we go ahead and compile all the comments. I've been doing this for quite some time, and sometimes you get unmet transit needs, a meeting of 5 staff and 2 people show up. And so that's just not what we want to have happen here. We want plenty of comments so that we can hear what we might be missing. Then we establish whether or not these comments are reasonable to meet. And the next slide will go into that in a little bit of detail, so I'm not going to go over that. We prepare the report, and then that report is eventually adopted by our policy board. And once it's approved, that's when the funds get distributed to the local agencies, Turlock, Stan RTA, and MOVE. So what is an unmet transit need? A great example of an unmet transit need that happened years and years ago was there was a group of seniors. Some of you may know Jenny Canoyer or Mickey Peabody, but these seniors were very active and worked with other seniors in the area agency on aging, the Commission on Aging, and thought or found that there was a need for door-through-door service. And so there was a study done, and they needed door-through-door service because there were people that were just shut-ins, plain shut-ins in their homes. And in order to get them out of their homes, they required a higher level of transportation services than what was currently being offered. And that's how MOVE got started. That is a great example of a transit need that's reasonable to meet. We also get people will fill out our surveys and also put in things that aren't reasonable to meet. And I love this example because in every place I've been in 3 different counties, always get this one. I want a bus that goes to Disneyland on Saturday mornings or something. It's just a crazy thing like that. And of course, that's not reasonable to meet, so we won't be taking that into account. So that really encompasses what the unmet transit needs process is. I appreciate your time and would be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Are there any questions of Jean?
I don't have a question, but a comment. Our residents are very appreciative of the transit bus that we have that comes down Roselle. So we really do appreciate that. And so we just want to say thank you for that.
Thank you. I will let Stan or TA know that. Thank
Yeah,
you so
and the
much.
fact that it comes to around the community center and then back to
Nice.
downtown. So we really appreciate that. Thank you.
Good. Yeah, they did some service changes, and I think they did a really good job on those service changes, reaching some areas that they hadn't done before. So thank you for saying that.
I just had a quick question. I wondered if you had any data on the ridership with the new route that's going through.
I do not. I'm sorry.
Able to get some of that to us?
Yeah, I could
Okay.
ask.
I just wondered how it was going, if we've seen some improvement or had any data on that. I was just curious. I see
Gina, I
quite
can
a few
answer that.
people.
Oh, thank
I
at
you.
the
used
stops.
to be on the Stan RTA, and it has improved greatly, especially when they've done a lot of free rides. July was free rides. They increased the ridership afterwards by 10% after the July prior to the free rides. And they continue doing that from time to time. I believe they're going to have some in October. Then
Yep.
again,
I just have noticed a lot of people standing at the bus stop, so I was really kind of psyched to see that, especially the one that goes down Morale
Yeah, that's
by my
great.
house when I'm driving to.
I will
from
still
work.
go ahead and have them get some data, and if it's okay, send it to Tammy or Maricela, and they can. Okay.
Much.
Thank you again. Appreciate
thank you
your
very
time.
much. At this time, members of the public may comment on any item not appearing on the agenda and within the subject matter jurisdiction of the City Council LRA Board. Individual comments will be limited to a maximum of 3 minutes, and time cannot be yielded to another person. Under state laws, matter presented during the public comment period cannot be discussed or acted upon. Please speak directly into the microphone and to the LRA City Council. Any public comments? Seeing none? We do?
I have some public comment. I would like to introduce to the council our new Assistant Finance Director, Jennifer Corgett, if you will step up. So Jennifer comes to us with quite a few years of finance experience and from county government and university experience. So we feel very lucky to have her on our team, and I just wanted to do a quick introduction tonight.
Well, welcome.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. My name is Rob Christensen. I live in the River Heights area, and I've been a resident in the city for about 10 years now, though I lived in Stanislaus County now for about 25 years. I've really come to love living here. My family and I like the conveniences of Crossroads Shopping Center. Definitely looking forward to the new Costco. We enjoy the downtown restaurants, looking forward to the Wine and Cheese Festival here in about a month and all the other events in the city. Anyway, we like it here, plan to live here for a very long time. I'm here tonight to simply speak in favor of the proposed Riverwalk project in the northeast area of town. I've seen some opposition groups on Facebook and around town gathering signatures. Well, thought I would come out and simply speak in favor of it as a resident who will live less than a half a mile away from it. First, an age-restricted active adult community will be a big component of the project. They'll have housing of several different sizes. There's a big need for smaller active adult housing. I know my own mother-in-law will be looking to downsize from her current home, and this community could be a way for her to do that. Now, not only would this help her, but it would then also allow a turnover of her current home and provide an opportunity for a larger family to move in. I'm sure most here will agree there is a housing shortage problem and a housing price problem in the state. This project won't solve all of those, but I definitely think it'll help. Additionally, I know I mentioned Crossroads Shopping Center and the new Costco and all the big box conveniences. Well, I think it gets overlooked that the project will also support a healthy downtown area. In the last few months, there's been at least 2 new restaurants that have opened up in the downtown core, and downtown Riverbank is really starting to come into its own. Well, those restaurants need customers, and this project can help provide those. So I genuinely believe the project will be a benefit to the city of Riverbank. I think it will fill a local and regional need. And I look forward to it coming to fruition. And I hope you'll consider it as it moves through the approval processes. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. No further comments? Couple on Zoom, okay.
Good evening. My name is Pete Aemetis. I'm the co-owner of Kiwis Custom Guns and a representative of the downtown businesses. I just wanted to quickly address a couple of comments that were made during the last city council meeting. I wasn't able to attend, but I did view the recording. And honestly, I was pretty disgusted and a little bit offended that about the accusations that Sue made about the businesses acting inappropriately at the last festival. We weren't named specifically, but I know that Kiwis was implied that we were acting inappropriately and outside the guidelines of the festival. And some of you guys know me. You know how I operate. You know
I
what type of
hate
business
to
we're in.
interrupt. We are having that discussion again tonight.
I'm not talking about the festival. I just want to clear the name
Oh,
of our business.
okay.
That's all.
I'll
I'm not
make
going
that-
to talk about the festival.
Okay.
We have our feelings on that, but I get it. I understand. I just want to make sure you guys know everything that we did during that festival and the one previous was actually planned, coordinated, and approved by the event organization. So no one came to us and said anything about, hey, you guys acting outside the guidelines or any of that. In fact, when I heard about it earlier this year, I spoke to you, Marcella, about what to kind of clear it up. So I thought, hey, we're very collaborative. We've always been a good participant in organizations. We've helped facilitate a lot of them. I mean, being the businesses we're in, regulated and all the licenses and things that we hold, the fact that we would do something like that, it surprises me that anybody would think that. So I just wanted to come up here today and make record that you guys know the type of people we are. You know the business we're in. You know the type of person I am. If someone had a problem, they could have just come and said something to me. So that's all I wanted to say. I just wanted to clear our name. So thank you.
Any other further comments? We have one from Zoom,
We have 3 comments on Zoom, Mayor.
right? Zoom comment 1. Ms. Akers?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. My name is Jamie Agers, 7730 McHenry Avenue, outside the city of Riverbank, but within the proposed project area of the Riverwalk project. You've heard from me many times over the past 2+ years now in opposition to Riverwalk for many, many reasons that are too numerous to mention, but primarily because the project would be constructed on prime ag land. Prime is the state of California's Department of Conservation's highest category of farmland where we grow our food. Homes should be built on soils of lesser quality. So please vote no when this project comes before you. Thank you.
Thank you. Zoom comment 2. X? Sean X, please.
This is John X. I'm
John.
sorry. This isn't the one I want to comment on. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Zoom 3? No more?
I think
Okay,
they dropped their hands.
so we're going to move on. Okay,
In support of this housing project and talking about farmland, I've been in agriculture all my life and I've worked all over the world. And yes, farmland is precious. But what I have learned is you build those buildings there now, and in 50 years from now, when we need the land, they will tear them down and use the farmland. So I'm not against, developing over quality farmland, because believe me, if we need the land, we can tear those buildings down and use the land. So to stop this project for that reason, in my mind, as having, 50 years of experience working around the world, I would say I would approve that development. Thank you.
any others? Seeing none, let's go to the consent calendar, consisting of item 9.1 waive readings, 9.2 approval of city council local redevelopment authority board minutes of August 22nd, Item 9.3, acceptance of Kesselberg Park Trail Project and authorization to file a notice of completion. Thank you, Gene. Item 9.4, acceptance of Roselle Avenue Sidewalk Project and authorization to file a notice of completion. Item 9.5, a resolution to approve a subdivision improvement agreement for Ward Villas, River Terrace with McRoy Wilbur Communities, Inc., and authorizing the city manager to execute the agreement. Item 9.6, resolution to approve final map 03/2021 Ward Villas, APN 132-036-003. Item 9.7, a resolution to authorize the city manager to enter into a professional services agreement for a housing element update to the general plan with J.B. Anderson Land Use Planning. Item 9.8, a resolution declaring the existence of local emergency in the response to a recent fire at the Riverbank Public Works Corporation yard. Does anyone wish to pull any items? I wish to pull 9.7 for a discussion. Okay,
We did receive comment on the minutes, item 9.2, that were related to clerical corrections.
okay. And are we making those clerical corrections?
We will incorporate them.
Any other comments? All right, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we accept the consent calendar as stated with, except for the item 9.7 for discussion.
I second.
Hey, we have a motion to approve all items except for 9.7 and a second. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Uribe,
Yes.
Councilmember Jones Cruz,
Yes.
Councilmember Barbara Martinez,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hernandez,
Yes.
and Mayor O'Brien.
Yes.
Pa-
And on
Item
item,
passes 5-0, sorry.
on item 9.7, I have no objections to the entering of the agreement, but what I do want to discuss is the housing element that we recently received, the RENA numbers, and how that affects what we currently have in inventory, what we're planning on, and possible futures. And Donna, can you explain that to us, please?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Yes, there is a 3.4 million house deficit in California, and we build to achieve the goals of the state. The city needs approximately 3,600 houses over the next 8 years, and we have about 100 in the pipeline, which would be excluding the proposed Riverwalk project. So as you can see, even adding up Crossroads and all the other subdivisions we have going right now, we are not expected to meet our RENA goal of 3,600 homes.
About how much are we short?
Short quite a bit. We didn't make our RENA goals in the last 8 years. And so last year, if we count last year, we only had 99 permits. So that's well short of the 3,600 we need to bring forward over the next 8 years.
And this last, okay, for 2023, are we ahead of last year's numbers?
No. No, we are not.
All right, yeah, with the downturn of interest rates and the delay that we had in the approval, most likely caused the slowdown that we experienced. And 2007 to 2012 was a definite slowdown. But although they still built out Crossroads during that time.
Yes, they're still building out they're building on 2 of the units right now. We do have a new map that came in for the rest of the housing south of Morel, which is 858 houses. We also have the Herrigfeld map in Crossroads, which is only 295 houses. So we do have a deficit. And besides a lack of land to build these 3,600 houses on, there's been an increase and a very tough time trying to get materials to build houses. A lot of people have changed jobs and left the planning and building field. So we're short-staffed here at City Hall, as are quite a few other cities and the county. We're looking for planners. We're looking for building inspectors to do all this work. And then you top it off with PG&E and back ordering all the transformers and causing some of our built subdivisions to have to sit and not be occupied. It's kind of a perfect storm, if you will.
Comments or questions of Donna? Okay, thank you very much. Okay, I'll bring it back for
Make a motion we approve item 9.7.
And I'll second it.
a motion to approve 9.7 in a second. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Uribe?
Yes.
Councilmember Jones Cruz?
Yes.
Councilmember Barbara Martinez?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hernandez?
Yes.
Mayor O'Brien?
Yes. Resolution passes 5-0. Item 10, public hearing. Item 10.1, Aemetis conditional use permit appeal.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. Tonight's item will be spearheaded by Donna Kenny, our Planning and Building Manager.
Good evening again. As mentioned, this is an appeal of the conditional use permit for Aemetis. The conditional use permit is for the proposed Aemetis facility use as it relates to the Riverbank Army ammunition plant and its specific plan and its environmental impact report. When the Planning Commission heard this item on August 15th, there was a vote of 3-2 to deny it, and the Planning Commissioners had some concerns, as did some citizens in the audience, that there may be traffic, noise, and odor impacts. So this proposed use is a sustainable aviation fuel and renewable diesel production plant, which will turn oils, fats, and eventually wood waste, which would be phased into low carbon fuels. This is the view east from Claus Road of our facility. Here is the Riverbank Industrial Complex site plan. What I have outlined in yellow is near the north end of the property, and that is the proposed site for Aemetis. Along the bottom is Claus Road. This is the facility site plan. It shows where a lot of the buildings would be located. The north end of the property, again, is to the left. And I'll provide a little bit of background. The Riverbank Industrial Complex, or the ammo plant, began operation in 1943 to supply aluminum products to the military. It was closed in 1944 and used for storage for 8 years. It reopened again in 1952 to provide military the aluminum they need. And then as production waned, business leases were permitted. Remediated this site. In 2018, the city released an RFP and selected Aemetis to manage the site. In 2022, existing leases at the site were transferred to Aemetis. And in 2023, the city began reviewing and issuing permits for the site. The Army still owns quite a bit of that property, so they are the final approval on these permits. So with the Riverbank Army ammunition plant specific plan uses, it does state that industrial and business park zoning permits manufacturing uses as well as a mixture of light manufacturing and office uses. Areas with this designation are subject to performance standards, which will ensure against noise, traffic, safety, light spillage, and glare near the existing and future sensitive uses. The specific plan was written to be flexible. There, in the existing industrial areas, there is the ability to retain the existing buildings, to allow for additional buildings, to allow for the removal or modifications to existing buildings, to maintain its historic character, and to preserve the viability of this area for future industrial uses. So some of the Aemetis project details. It is proposed to manufacture there. The Riverbank Industrial Complex is about 140 acres. The Aemetis facility is about 29 acres. Aemetis is proposing office and warehouse uses. They expect to have 24 months of construction, and once up and running, they will be running 24/7. Product would be coming in by truck and by rail. The final EIR for the property was adopted in November of 2013. Mitigation measures and a monitoring program was adopted. And the CEQA guidelines state the decision-making body shall consider the addendum with the FEIR prior to making a decision on the project. The purpose of the addendum is to describe the facility and its impacts and analyze them in the context of the EIR and its specific plan. A CEQA check use was used as well as significant thresholds. So what do we look at in a checklist? Basically, with this addendum, everything was looked at that you would look at as at the original EIR. So you look at the impacts and possible impacts and compare it with the specific plan and the FEIR to see if they all mesh. Greenhouse gases, hazardous materials, land use planning, material resources, noise. The checklist continues. When you get down to, say, transportation and traffic, for example, section 16 of the specific plan EIR addendum estimates, the specific plan that was adopted in 2013 estimates nearly 10,000 daily trips of vehicles with the full build out of the site, and 161 truck trips assigned to parcels 2 and 2A, which are the Aemetis parcels. The EIR determined the traffic impacts were significant and unavoidable back then. When the city approved the specific plan, it made findings and it adopted a statement of overriding consideration and imposed mitigation measures on every business that would locate at the RIC. To address these impacts, the project is subject to traffic mitigation measures and all mitigation in the EIR. So as you go down this list and look at each section of those, they each have mitigation that Aemetis will have to abide by. The specific plan EIR determined the impact of the build out of the specific plan was less than significant. The facility is located within the plan area, evaluated in the specific plan, and does not represent a change to the project that was analyzed in the EIR. So basically, the whole site was analyzed at full build out under the EIR, and it's been found through the addendum that this project would fit within there. Our recommendation is to review the provided documents, take public comment, approve the addendum to the RAAP EIR, and approve the appeal of use permit 01-2023 for Aemetis Advanced Products in Riverbank, subject to the conditions in the proposed resolution. Thank you. I'd be happy to answer any questions, and we have the project applicants here that could answer some of the more technical ones.
Are there any questions before we go to a public hearing?
No, just thank you for kind of clarifying the mitigation measures as far as like the traffic, and it looks like it's a fraction of what's allowed to be going in and out of the site, the 161 number for parcels 2 and 2A. So just kind of thank you for clarifying that.
You're welcome.
So I have listened to several of my constituents in my district, and they're concerned about the pollution from the diesel trucks and trains and so forth. So is there, to mitigate that, I guess we could use more trains rather than diesel trucks? Is that true, to get the product, in and out? Or do we know?
I don't know the specifics of the impacts between the two modes of transportation, but what I do know is the San Joaquin Valley Air Pollution Control District will monitor this project not only through its construction phase, but any vehicles that would be on site. For example, they determine what the idling time will be, how long the trucks can run, if they're using the most recent
Diesel engines.
There we go.
Yes.
Diesel. That is the word that was avoiding me, is diesel. The newest, the latest and greatest. They have to be able to meet all of their thresholds.
Just to clarify your comments, and just for that, since the original EIR was approved, the Air Board has provided significant guidance and elimination of dirty diesels. In fact, if you have a vehicle at 2005, you're only allowed to operate it 1,000 hours until 2032, where you can no longer use it. At 2032, there will be a significant change out of old diesels to new diesels. And by 2042, believe this, all diesel engines will be eliminated. But I don't think that we have the infrastructure to support that. But
And also when we first approved the Aemetis plan, we were talking about jobs that will be for our Riverbank residents. So that is still the plan, correct?
Yes, they expect to, when they're up and running, to have approximately 50 jobs. Plus, there are the jobs that are associated with the construction of this plant.
Thank you.
All of the indirect benefits, right, Donna,
Correct.
that you're talking about?
Yes.
Thank you.
thank you. At this time, I'm going to open item 10.1 to a public hearing.
Good evening. I'm Mayor O'Brien, members of the council. My name is Tyler Powell. I'm a resident of Riverbank on Grizzly Way at the Bruin Heights community, right down the road behind Riverbank High School. So in addition to that, I'm also president of the IBEW Local 684, which represents electrical workers in Stanislaus County. I stand in support of the proposed Aemetis Riverbank renewable jet fuel diesel plant at the Riverbank ammo plant. It will provide hundreds of construction jobs and over 50 permanent jobs with livable wages for our area. We need these green projects as we transition from fossil fuels to a more sustainable future. Thank you for your consideration and moving forward with this project.
Thank you.
Jeff Smith. The massive increase in truck traffic on the highway will create congestion and place a bigger burden on the city of Riverbank to maintain roads and bridges and overburden the citizens with excessive traffic on the highway, and could turn Stanislaus County into a carbon copy of Contra Costa County congestion. The second issue is the sequestration of carbon dioxide. It appears from statements of the atmospheric scientists who are most concerned about the subject, that their statements are that carbon dioxide is used by plants for sustenance and nourishment. Plants are the Earth's primary source of oxygen, including all categories of plants, from oceans, seaweed, and algae to trees and growing crops. We are in one of the most abundant agricultural valleys on Earth, which produces crops for our nourishment. Cattle eat plants, so both carnivores and vegetarians are affected if plants cannot grow. A prominent atmospheric scientist who stated that if the CO2 levels fall below 150 parts per million, the plants will stop growing. So sequestration of CO2 is not a good idea. And that's a big part of this. I'm firmly opposed to that. The farmers deserve a steady supply of CO2 for their crops. The people and animals on Earth need oxygen. We as a society have to exercise sound stewardship over the Earth's resources and preserve life on Earth. We cannot lose our source of oxygen, which are the plants. Climate change appears to be more propaganda and a manipulation of public consumption of media and dissemination of a fantasy than actual scientific reality. Many climate scientists sharply disagree with the position that CO2 must be reduced. We cannot promote a blind devotion to the climate change theory without solid scientific footings. Sequestering CO2 is expensive use of public tax resources without a solid scientific basis. Thank you.
Next, please.
Good evening. My name is Charlotte Eaton, and I oppose this project. The project is located directly across property that I own. I've lived across from the ammunition plant. The water is already polluted out there because of the ammunition plant. And now you're wanting to put another pollutant out there where you're going to pump CO2s into the ground. I don't understand why Riverbank has never annexed that property into Riverbank. I believe it's because of the contaminated water. I am shocked that you did not let the people, the residents out there, because that's residential. I am shocked that you did not let the people out there to know. And Mr. O'Brien has let me know that you only have to let people know within 300 feet. That is ludicrous. I am so opposed to this, and I am ashamed of all of you that you would want to bring this into our community with trucks bringing tallow from India. Why would you want to do that? Why would you want to bring that pollution into our neighborhoods? The people out there are already upset on Davis because they're getting their land taken away by Stanislaus County and Caltrans. They're angry that cars are going to be right behind their house. They've been living in the country for years. That plant is going to be how close to the high school? That railroad track is not going to be able to transport what you're wanting to. It's not in that condition, and I believe they said that at the last meeting. You don't even know if that railroad track will sustain the amount of things that you want to bring in there, all the waste and the jet fuel out. You are jeopardizing people that live in the Townsend area. You're bringing that right through the neighborhood. Why would you want to do that? Why? Would you want that coming through your neighborhood right in front of you? Leanne? Would you like that? Darlene, would you want to see that? How about you, Rachel? Would you want it in your neighborhood? Lewis? Thomas? Would you want that in your neighborhood? And why would you not let those people know? My neighbors lived over there. My neighbors live over there. I just don't understand. There is so, and I would like to know, do you have?
You have to speak to the council and not to the public, and your time is up.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. O'Brien.
Next. Seeing none, I will close public hearing. Oh. You have people on Zoom? Okay. No, speak. You're there.
Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised that we've had 4 days to look at the amendments to the conditional use permit. And there's, I don't know, 300 pages here. And I'm just curious how many of you looked at this in reference to making a decision tonight. And in answer to her question, why are you guys doing it? For 50 jobs. I'm representing we the people, which is all of us, by the way. And we can work together. This is our motto. We can work together to a mutual benefit. Okay, we the people are tired of paying for public programs, public benefits, poor decisions, using taxation to manipulate our society to appease some utopia idea that has never worked throughout history, and all under the veil of progress, all costing trillions of dollars with no return. Examples, Ford Motor Company has recently stated for every electric vehicle they produce, they lose $90,000 for every electric car they produce. Does that make any sense? No, but they are feeling good about it. Okay, and what happens? They pass those costs on to we the people. So next time we buy a car, it's going to be more expensive. That's called inflation, ladies and gentlemen. So as an example, Elon Musk Tesla has made $1.2 billion off of selling CO2. Does that make sense to pay $1.2 billion for that? No, it doesn't, ladies and gentlemen. And I would like to demonstrate what CO2 credits are with a simple demonstration. Okay, I'm in the government. I decide that I don't like business that generates CO2. So I create a new government organization. And I decided that I don't like people because, well, let's take some gentlemen. This fellow right here is nice and tall.
Talk either to us or don't talk at all.
Thank you for your interruption, sir. This gentleman here, he's big and he expels a lot of CO2. So I'm going to call him Ford and Chevrolet because they make gasoline cars. Okay, so, and I decide that I'm going to fine him $1 million for expelling too much CO2 into this room. So I keep some of the money for myself for paying retirement, by the way. Okay, so, and this gentleman here is fairly small. So I'm going to pick him, and I like him because he is expelling not much CO2. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reward him, and I'm going to give him the $1 million. Now, to justify my existence, again, I decided to give him $1 million. So what has just happened here? A transfer of wealth. And again, this is selling carbon credits on the market. We just transferred wealth from Ford and Chevrolet to Elon Musk to the tune of $1 billion, and not counting any of the trillions that go along with it. But who took the financial hit?
Thank you. Your time is up.
Okay. Thank you. And, I find it
Time is up.
disgusting. Yeah, I know, but I find it disgusting that you allow 3 minutes to go over 1,200 pages or whatever.
Sir,
it is.
your time is up.
Thank you.
Good evening, council.
I do mind. Just give it to the.
Pause my time, please.
Your time will restart. Would you restart his time, please?
Good evening, council. My name is Manuel Zapata. I'm the political and public relations representative for the sheet metal workers, Local 104. I'm actually here to give comment for one of our business representatives from Riverbank that could not make it today because she's working out in the Bay Area. So this is from Alicia Mojares, our business representative. I'm a resident of Riverbank and a sheet metal worker. I came here 16 years ago and fell in love with this small town and bought my home here. I, like many other residents of Riverbank in the Central Valley, must commute and carpool to the Bay Area because of steady family-sustaining wages are scarce here. This plant will generate living wage jobs during the construction phase and permanent living wage jobs afterwards. The location is currently an outdated and unattractive building that houses few businesses. And it would be practically a dream come true to be able to live and work in the same community and not have to travel for hours every day to earn a wage, to support a family, and to achieve the dream of home ownership. If we could get more projects and businesses like this in Riverbank and throughout Stanislaus County, we could alleviate some of the gridlock to the Altamont. Wouldn't it be great if we can cultivate a community where the majority of the residents don't have to drive hours or carpool to catch up on sleep? Projects like these generate good jobs and in turn help the local economy. Let's not miss the chance to bring opportunity to our town. Please approve this project. Sign Alicia Maharis, Riverbank, California resident. Thank you.
Charles Shetrans. Good evening. My question today is, do you comprehend what's happening here? As critical thinkers, we should all ask questions. Aemetis already owns an ethanol plant in Keys, California, 13 miles away from here. They shut that plant down because they were losing too much money. Why would they want to build another plant in Riverbank? Aemetis has several business advantages for a Riverbank plant, mainly apparently own 450,000 gallons of vegetable oils and animal fats that are at their facility in India. They just have to get that material here to the United States. Their primary plan is to haul those gallons from a port in Oakland here to Riverbank via 328 truck trips per day. The ERA states on page 23 of the Carbon Zero 1 project CEQA documents, there will be 320 trucks per day traversing between the Bay Area and Riverbank. On page 53 of the ERA states traffic will be significant and unavoidable. That is the problem for we the people. As you all know, traffic jams to and from the Bay Area. The EIR is deceptive for it does not evaluate traffic any further than Oakdale Road. The impact of Highway 120, 205, and 205 over the pass, Livermore and Pleasanton will be negatively impacted, as well as with an additional 320 trucks per day. This project is stated to provide 50 jobs. Doing the math, that's about $32,000 per day. There are about 80,000 cars that travel over the Altamont Pass every day. Excuse me. Just 1 minute, if we delayed each of them 1 minute per day, that would be a monetary loss of $230,000 per day. By my standards, that's not even close to fair trade off the economic benefits of 50 jobs. We the people are not adverse to progress. We don't want traffic. There is a mitigation measure mentioned in the IRA, use railroad tankers. We believe that they should be a requirement and not an option. The road traffic is not an option for us. The amenities ERA does not address another problem, which is extorting. The ERA alludes to this question.
Thank you, sir. Time's up. Thank you. Next.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Steve Stevenson. I'm a business representative for UA Local 442 Plumbers Pipe Fitters. We're also affiliated with the Valley Building Trade, so it's no surprise to anyone here. We're standing in support of this project with Aemetis. Projects like this are actually needed in order for our membership and apprenticeships to grow. Our apprenticeship offers pathways firmly to the middle class, with a lot of them being 5 years or more. There are good middle class wages, and there are wages here locally. Rather than our members have to commute over to the Bay Area, they get to have that time here. So obviously projects of this magnitude are very important to us. You know, I was doing a little bit of researching on about the depot plant, and one of the specific plans, and it was up there, it said maintain the viability of industrial use. And this is about as green as they get when it comes to biofuels. This specific plan has the ability for carbon sequestration in the future, but that's not what this plan is about. This is just to get the plant up and running. They still have to come back here for future approval for the carbon sequestration or any expansions. This is just to get the plans rolling and forward so they can go into design and start a build out. So the fears of the carbon sequestration, there's still a lot of studies that have to be done before that even comes to fruition. Again, like I said, we stand in support with Aemetis on this project. We hope that its approval will lead to a lot of man hours for our membership, over 800 construction jobs over a 2-year build out, and a minimum of 50 jobs. You know, as they ramp up their facility, it's going to be more than 50. And by extension, it's going to benefit this community of Riverbank. So thank you for your time.
Mayor and council members, my name is Corey Van Rice, and I'm one of the officers of the Valley Building and Construction Trades Council. We represent thousands of construction workers in this local area. I just have one quick thing to show you, and I would like everybody who's here in support of this project to please stand. So I think you can see that the community is in support of this project. I feel like the EIR has been completed. Aemetis will have to address these mitigation concerns. I think this is going to be a benefit to the community. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Ralph Garcia. I live at Powers Avenue here in Riverbank. I'm a member and instructor for the Local 442 Plumbers and Pipefitters Apprenticeship Program. I stand in support of the Aemetis Biofuels Project for the work and the training opportunities it would bring to our apprenticeship program. With some of those apprentices being residents here in Riverbank, projects like this give our members the opportunity to work close to home, which translates to more time spent with family rather than long commuting hours spent on the road. It's just not the construction jobs that benefit our members. The maintenance jobs will be a community benefit long after the project is completed. Our members earn good middle-class wages, and it's those middle-class wages that will be spent within this community, generating revenue, having a positive effect for Riverbank's community. Even though there are many or more positive benefits that this project will bring, those are the ones I wanted to present to you tonight. Please vote in favor of this project. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Let's go to Zoom. We're going to go to Zoom for right now. We have some people waiting in Zoom. You'll have your chance, sir.
Hello.
Hi, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
You can hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Bianca Lopez. I am a resident of Riverbank. I actually live on Tennessee Avenue. The rail yard and my backyard are split by a wall, but the pollution doesn't stay behind that wall. Me and my 5-year-old have severe asthma, and today we stand with other community members who are not in favor of a yes vote from the city council. I have a couple of questions. I know in a hearing, usually there are allowed, and so I don't want to spend my 3 minutes in public comments getting questions and answers, but I want to know how many of the city council members have actually read the environmental impact report, with a show of hands if possible.
Ma'am, we're not going to play that game. We all have read the EIR. First,
no, that's not. So you're stating for a
Continue.
fact that all of the
Continue.
city council members have read the environmental impact report in its full capacity? Because the recommendation, Mayor,
Just go. Continue talking.
the recommendation by staff was that you all read the supporting documents that were 1,200 plus pages. Community members did not have enough time to read that to give you an appropriate or a full opinion on this matter, but we know that pollution is not okay. Where are the mitigations on this environmental impact report for when me and my son have to go to the ER? How many of you in that room right now live in Riverbank? Stand up. That's what I thought. Not many of you. So while I am in support of jobs and green jobs and union jobs, well-paying jobs, this is not a green business. We're just talking about how they're creating fuels through an alternative method, not using fossil fuels, but this is not a green business. That is greenwashing. I am all for bringing business and jobs to the community. I want all of you to be able to work in your home, in your town. I don't want you to drive to the Bay Area, but this is not the job. This job is going to be polluting our communities. We don't need more pollution. Do you guys all understand what cumulative impacts are? That's a combination of more than just one or two or three pollutants or different burdens in our community. Have you read the CalEnviroscreen report on the community that is across from that the plant? It is a highly disadvantaged community, and that's where I live. And if you're not willing to vote no tonight, I really think you need to postpone this vote so that you give the people some more time to look over the environmental impact report, for you to read it yourself,
Thank you very much. Your time
to
is exceeded.
host workshops.
Go ahead.
Hi, thank you. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Looks like, hey, my name's Matt Holmes. I actually called in to be an air quality advocate and to kind of question some of the state's climate science as well, like I heard some other folks doing there. I originally called in to point out that the shipping of animal fats requires special handling and special emergency response strategies that I don't see contained in this EIR. I was going to call in and I was going to talk about how rail is already at capacity, since I work intimately with the Port of Stockton, and we can't bring more in by rail. You will categorically end up with more truck traffic. I was going to call in and talk about how PM particulate matter, like the last caller was pointing out, has degraded quality of life in your region, that people die earlier and are born lighter because of cumulative impacts. And that's in large part because decision-making bodies like yourself don't often have the time or haven't taken the time to have the feedback sessions that she was advocating for and taking this project back to the community in great detail. I was really going to talk about how the only reason companies like Aemetis exist, the reason why they were on ethanol, was because of government welfare. And they're switching over to biofuels and aviation fuels because of government welfare. And that I just didn't think Riverbank was a Gavin Newsom town. I didn't see you guys lining up to make him send him to the White House. This is weird, bizarro reverse socialism for a company that you don't need to care about for 50 jobs you can find somewhere else. Those were all the things I was going to talk about. But what I have to talk about now is that I'm a labor historian, and I've been a union member my whole life. And I was raised by union love. And I don't remember unions coming out advocating for jobs at the expense of their own families or their neighbors or other people's kids. I remember unions having a long vision that went further than one job. And so I need you guys to do better, because you're supposed to be the closed shop and we're the ones advocating for you. You're the only ones that can take your kids to a dentist. And now you're going to have a truck idling next to someone else's kid. So you need to do better. Riverbank, you need to reject this proposal until they come back from formula with something that actually benefits you. You should focus on your unmet transportation needs and your legal compliance with your housing mandate. Those are things you have to do. This is something you don't have to do.
Thank you. Was there anyone else on Zoom?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Go ahead. Yes.
Yeah, my name is John X. Mataka. I'm a community advocate for Valley Improvement Projects. I'm urging you to vote to reject this appeal, because for a lot of the reasons that several people have just said prior to me. But from an environmental point, air pollution is the worst in the Central Valley. That site is a Superfund site. I have one out here where I live, near Patterson. And it's a Superfund site. And although now they may be talking about just creating this fuel made out of plants and fat, animal fat and all like that. Don't get it twisted. Their goal is to do carbon capture, and their goal is to drill down 10, 15,000 feet into the ground in a site that is a Superfund site, which is crazy as hell. And for those poor people that live around that area, that this is a disaster waiting to happen. These companies come in. I live in Grayson. We had the Wesley tire fire. We have the Covanta incinerator. They're talking about trying to do something like this out at the naval base in Crow's Landing. We're not going for that. This carbon capture is dangerous. In Mississippi, it blew up, caused fires, killed some people. It's nothing to play with, and these 320 truck trips and then the pollution from the trains, all that, it's not worth it. And these 50 jobs, I'm going to tell you, union people, you're not going to get 50 jobs. You'll be lucky if you get, each of you union guys gets 3 or 4 jobs, because these people are going to bring in some of their own people. And the high paying jobs, they're going to use their people. They give you that song and dance all the time when they come in. Oh, jobs, because people like to hear about jobs. Yeah, well, yeah, watch and see. So I say no, vote this down. The people don't deserve. You want to protect Riverbank, have it be nice, build up your downtown, have people want to come to the festival, you better vote this down. Thank you.
Is there any other ones?
Sounds gonna smell.
Yes, hello?
I'm glad that you're commenting. No one did while you were out, so please.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes. So yeah, I live in this new countryside community over here. This is actually the second home I bought in this community. I wish this council would have told us what was going to happen before I bought here, because I don't want my kids growing up here. This council is a bunch of hypocrites. You're going to come out here and do a ribbon cutting for a park that's yards away from this proposed site. And now you want to just hand this business whatever they want. Pollution, not just, does anybody know what the tallow plant on Crow's Landing Road in Modesto smelled like? You cannot contain the smell. Has anybody had a family member that's worked at a tallow plant? They could take 50 showers and the smell would not leave their skin. And this is what you want to put right next to our homes. Why did the second phase of countryside development, why was that approved? Just to put a plant, a biodiesel factory right next to them? Has anybody on this council, does anybody in this council know that the Hetch Hetchy aqueduct that feeds the whole city of San Francisco is right next to that plant underground? And they want to drill and store this methane there? Has anybody even have a contingency plan for an explosion that destroys that waters? Anything that could happen, this is, I don't know. You guys are beyond me. And yes, we'll be ready. Candidates, be ready, because if you approve this, we will vote you out. Thank you.
Are there any other comments on Zoom? $3108. Are you there?
Hello?
Hello, we can hear you. Please state your comment.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. I live downtown, but make no mistake, when the traffic backs up out there, it's going to back up downtown too and everywhere else. This is supposed to be an appeals of the conditional use permit. There's no appeal documents of any kind in the agenda. So did they even bother to file an appeal? Second, the tracks. Terminal tracks cross Patterson and go down Patterson to the Santa Fe tracks. They cross third and first. The last time they tried to haul stuff like this over it, they told you should remember, they told the guy that owned the track that he had to update those crossings for them to be able to use them. They never got done. So these guys just going to get to do it without doing any updates, or who's going to take care of it, or just sit there? There's nothing on those things except a track over a street. No parking bars, no lights, no bills, no nothing. Last thing. When the Planning Commission met in August, they had an addendum on there. It was one dated in 2022. It only had about 20 some odd pages. The one which came out Friday that you've got is dated in May of 2023. It's got over 100 pages. Why didn't the Planning Commission have this one that you have? Why is it just now coming out? We only had 4 days to see it. Why did you keep this document from going out so the public could see it, have a longer time to look at it and comment on it? But this should have been out with the Planning Commission meeting. And I add these to my other comments at the Planning Commission meeting. I'm still waiting on them too. But somebody needs to explain why that document was withheld from the public. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other Zoom? We're closing Zoom. Any other public comment?
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. My name is Tom Helm. I'm also a resident of Riverbank. I live right over there off the terminal by the railroad track as well. And I, after a lot of thinking and a lot of research that I was able to do in the short period of time, I have to agree with the decision of the Planning Commission and request that a no vote come tonight, or at least like a caller said, to put this off so that the community can have workshops and talk about all of the details in those hundreds of pages. That PDF was so big, my computer slowed down trying to read it. That's why I wasn't able to read the whole thing. I'm very sympathetic to the jobs issue. Like one of the other callers, I was raised by two parents in unions, teachers union and a Teamster. I'm very sympathetic, but we are talking about 50 permanent jobs. Construction jobs for 2 years, then they're gone. 50 jobs. And like we said, is there a guarantee that local people will be hired? Things like that have been challenged in court for the employer's right to hire who they want. So I would like to know, is there any guarantee that local people will be hired in those jobs? I agree with the air quality concerns. 16 rail cars a day, like I said, I can look over my back fence and see those diesel engines pumping out smoke. They sit there and they idle. California just recently tried to pass stricter idling laws. We've even called the air district because we thought they were idling too long. The air district is not going to be there all the time, like somebody suggested, to inspect this stuff. We call them, they take a half an hour to come out. By then, maybe the train is gone. It's not going to be there. They're sitting there making sure everybody is following all of these rules. The trucks, 86 more trucks every single day. That is more diesel pollution. They find out more and more about what diesel particulate matter does to children, to elderly, to people with respiratory problems like asthma. They're learning more and more about what the relation between diesel and particulate matter to dementia and Alzheimer's, all kinds of health effects from diesel. You mentioned earlier that the EIR said that this was significant burden, the traffic and the pollution, and that there was a statement of overriding consideration. Correct me if I'm wrong, but from my understanding, that means that you said this is significant and we're going to do it anyway. That's all overriding consideration means. So in that original EIR, we're making it sound like they did all of the studies and everything was good. If there was an overriding consideration, that means he's looked at it and said, it's bad, but we're going to do it anyway. We're overriding what it says. This company came in with the promise to use up the ag waste that we needed to get rid of because there's not going to be any more open burning. I'm not even a fan of biomass incinerators. They still combust and cause pollution. But now it's like the old switcheroo. We're not going to do that anymore. We're not going to use all that ag waste that we need to get rid of. We're going to be bringing our own stuff in from India, from their plant, to use animal fat. I wonder if that was the plan.
Thank you very much.
The whole time. This is a disadvantaged
Sir,
community.
thank you.
75% Latino people of color in this community. None of these documents were in Spanish. None of these meetings were in Spanish.
Mayor, council members. My name is Andy Foster. I'm the president of Aemetis. I've been responsible largely for the operations of our Keys ethanol plant for the last decade, and I just want to address a couple of the issues that were raised here tonight. First of all, when people scoff at 50 jobs, I've spent a considerable amount of time here in the Valley over the last decade of my life, and I know 50 jobs are not something to turn your nose up, especially when you consider the indirect jobs that are associated with 50 full-time jobs. It's 625 indirect jobs. And I can speak to that because that's exactly what's happened with the Keys plant. We shut the Keys plant down, not because of some issue on our side, by the way. It was because PG&E was charging 5 times the amount we normally pay for natural gas. But to the question of tallow will be one of the feedstocks that we will use at this plant. We're going to use all kinds of refined vegetable oils. In fact, we'll use distilled corn oil from the ethanol plant as one of our feedstocks here. It's one of our options, but keep in mind, this is refined tallow. Refined tallow is required to be odorless or near odorless, okay? So it's coming here refined. It's not raw tallow, and this is not a tallow rendering facility. Everything will be contained. So it's not like we're going to be having tallow all over the place. The other thing to keep in mind is we're making renewable diesel. Renewable diesel has 60% less CO2 emissions than regular diesel and 90% less particulate matter than normal diesel. So when people talk about additional trucks and all the diesel, that's what we're making here. We're trying to get rid of diesel in the state of California. So I think it's worth pointing out that the purpose of this plant is to meet California's goal to be carbon neutral. Many of the trucks that will be running in and out of this plant will be either running on renewable diesel or renewable natural gas, which has a negative carbon intensity. So from a transportation environmental perspective, we're addressing that with the very products that we make. So I think it's important to point that out. The CO2 question is a question for another day. That's not what the purpose of this vote is here today. The vote here today is to move forward on our planning as was described in the CUP. I want to thank the members of organized labor who have showed up here, many of whom are Riverbank residents, because they know we have a track record of working closely with them on all of our projects throughout the Valley. We just building out our renewable natural gas plant, and we used 100% union labor for that. So these are real jobs that keep people closer to home, decreasing the amount of traffic on the road and allowing people to thrive in their own communities. So we thank the council for your consideration. We urge your support. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, I cut you off earlier.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to speak here with you tonight. My name is Randy Thomas, and I'm the Business Manager, Secretary, Treasurer of Boilermakers Local 549. We're located in Pittsburgh, California. Represent over 750 members in Northern California, 4 of which live here in Modesto and Riverbank. We're a highly skilled craft. Our members have to travel long distances in order to work at the facilities that we do. We maintain boilers, pressure vessels, and tanks. That is our job. That's what we go to school for, is to keep that beast installed. The only opportunities for employment at this point in time are in the Bay Area, and you guys have all talked about how traffic is extremely bad. California is making a change in direction to go towards green energy. These are no longer going to be giant facilities that are located in the Bay Area and in the Bay Area only, but they're going to be scattered all over California with opportunities for multiple communities to be able to get involved with this here. So I stand with the building trades, the Valley building trades, in support of this project to give an opportunity for the people that are still working to be able to spend time at home in their community with their families. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Anthony Viscuso, and I'm a business agent for the Heat and Frost Insulators Local 16. And just as already has been said, I too represent many members that live here. One of them is here with me tonight from Riverbank. I have a few more that live in Oakdale and around nearby. One of the things I'd noticed on the drive out here, this is my first time actually driving to the city hall. I noticed that there's some roads that need to be repaired. I noticed there's some infrastructure that needs to be fixed. What a great opportunity to bring in new jobs, new income, new revenue for the city to address those issues. There's been talk about traffic. As you guys go to reach arena goals and you start having more people move in here, you're going to have more traffic anyways. You're going to need to build more roads. This is all part of the process. The city is going to evolve. It's going to grow. This is an opportunity to get out in front of it and get some extra revenue for that. I just want to close with saying opportunity doesn't get missed. It simply goes somewhere else. And you have an opportunity here tonight to take advantage of the direction that the state is moving, whether you guys go with it or not. So I would just like to encourage you to please vote in favor of this. Thank you.
All right. Are there any additional information? We've had a lot of repetitive. Any additional?
My name is Raul Hernandez, and I represent members from Riverbank that are in the Plumbers and Pipefitters Union. And something I want to touch on is Aemetis' choice to partner with the building trades and what that means, right? And I want to highlight what that means. What that means is that the project that's going to get built out, it's going to be a project built by a skilled and trained workforce that's making a livable wage, that they're trained in each specific craft that they're going to be working in. If it's a plumber, if it's a pipe fitter, he's going to be strictly working on pipe that's privy to his trade. Electricians are going to be performing electrical work that they're being specifically trained. So you're not going to have an electrical person welding on a steam pipe, right? And what does that give you? It gives you a job that's going to be safe, that's going to be durable. I know that some of the scare tactics when the environmental start talking is they start talking about these catastrophic accidents that happen in Tennessee, in Texas. And what do all those have in common is that a lot of those states have zero regulations on how projects are built. And in California, that's one thing that we pride ourselves in, is that regulation to make sure projects are built safe. And our people, our workers are trained to that standard, right? We're trained to build projects to have the minimal impact on the environment when we're building these projects, because each one of our apprenticeships offer training as far as the curriculum in proper ways of building something with having minimal impact on the environment. So I think it's valuable to point that out, that Aemetis made a conscious decision to partner with us and what that means, because a lot of developers will come, and what happens is they don't want to deal with us because they don't want to pay that livable wage, and they'll bring the workers from Texas, they'll bring them from out of the area, and maybe the hotel industry will make a good have a good impact in this community, but everybody else won't, right? And they made that conscious decision to use this local labor and pay that livable wage, and that has to mean something here. And I'll end it with this. All we're voting on today, that you guys are voting on, is to proceed, right, with the conditional permit. All this stuff that they're throwing at us as far as environmentals, these are all things that they're presuming are going to happen. If you approve this to go to the next step, that doesn't mean that tomorrow they're going to start digging and building the plant. There's still other checks and balances that got to happen. And I think it's important to point that out also. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. I'm going to close the public hearing.
Mayor, just for the record, I just wanted to note that we had received 2 other public comments that had been shared with the council and will be
Right,
included.
we have the
Yes.
comments made. Thank you. All right. I'm going to turn it back over to you, Donna, but before I do, this EIR did not just come out last week, did not come out just in August. We discussed it, we planned it in 2012, 2013. The final approval was in 2014, when there was plenty of opportunities for input. This was not just a public notice for just the local residents, it's for the entire. We had entirety, community input on what we were going to do out there. And we came out with a vision, and that vision is to make it green. And we went out and we sought a green company, and we found one to be our master developer and to help lead us in the future. So with that, Donna, do you need to dispel any of the information that was put out, clarify or anything?
A lot of it was clarified by the people in the audience. I can't think of anything else to bring back.
I have some comments. I happened to sit on the council during the 2012, 13, and 14 years when we sought Aemetis. Aemetis, we spent a lot of time searching and interviewing different kinds of master developers that we were looking for. We specifically chose Aemetis. We had all kinds of community meetings, and all I can say is, where were some of you when we did that? This project is what we need in this area. In solidarity, we need this employment. We need this work. It's vital to our area. And excuse me, I listened to everyone's comment politely, and I expect the same courtesy from you out there to listen to my comments politely, just like I did for you, without being interrupted or having mumbling in the background, because none of us did that to you. I'm going to go ahead and continue that. I think it's,
Whether you agree or disagree with anybody that's speaking, city council, please speak your comments to yourself. This is why we live in this United States, so we can all have our opinion, and not what other people are talking. So if it continues, I will ask you to leave. Okay?
and if you think I didn't spend 1 minute listening to every single word, you're gravely mistaken. And I take great offense to sit up here and listen to someone accuse me of not doing my job and taking my job as city council member lightly. I have read every document that was sent to me. Thank you, Mr. Avila, for your information. It was very informative. And I read every single one of those pages you sent me. Excuse me, not a time to comment. I never commented on any of yours. Please keep it quiet. It's my turn to talk. I will not sit up here and be intimidated about worrying about if you're going to elect me again. I'm here now, and this is the job you've been given to me to vote tonight on this. Aemetis has done an amazing job out there. You need to go out and take a look at it. I encourage you. It was interesting to see when I first went out there, when we got Aemetis on board, to go out there all these years later and see the improvements that's been out there, not only just aesthetically, but what's going on out there as far as business goes. And if you think you're worried about 50 jobs, there's way more than 50 jobs going on out there. Way more. I would encourage Aemetis to do some outreach. People are scared. Makes people nervous. People are nervous and scared about things that they don't know. And I would like to see some outreach. I love your facilities out there. You have a brand new building that'd be perfect to offer it up to community groups that could come out there and meet. It'd be a fabulous thing to do. I've been on a couple tours out there, and it's really the improvement of what it was just 10 years ago is amazing. And it's what we as a city council then and all the time in between have worried about and sat up here and discussed and worked towards, is to have the Army ammunition plant turned over to a master developer so that it can be a community place where we have jobs, an industrial complex, and are meeting all the criteria. I think I'll stop because I have some other council members, but I could go on and on. But thank you for giving me the time to speak my mind.
Mr. Mayor, I do have two real quick comments, but I can wait until the others are done if you like.
Let's go through the council comments. Go ahead, Doreen.
So I was on the citizen advisory committee before Aemetis came, and this was even before I was elected to city council. And we had a vision for the Army ammo plant, and that was to have green businesses to be in there. And if you ever get a chance to take a tour or to see what's in there, I think that even with the short time that Aemetis has been around and out there, you'll see that there are a lot of green businesses, a lot of recyclables, and all kinds of exciting businesses that are there and trying to make a living for people of the city and Riverbank and beyond. I'm just glad to see that Aemetis is there. As Leanne said, that we have, we have been involved in looking for a master developer, and it took a long time. We thought we had one, and then we had to go back to the drawing board because they just weren't the right fit. And we think that Aemetis is here to move us in the future. So I just want to say thank you for being the type of company that you are, and looking forward for the city of Riverbank. Thanks.
So thank you. So I was only going to address a couple of concerns from the residents about the concern of the tallow comment that was made. Andy Foster did a great job. Tallow is not going to be processed at the plant. Jared also explained. Got a little deep into how the refined process goes out there. One thing that wasn't fully discussed, the mitigation of the traffic. I think the North County corridor is going to alleviate a lot of that traffic. The timelines aren't going to match, but the full build out till 2027 is going to alleviate that. And it's nice to hear that the trucks that are going to be going in and out are going to be renewable natural gas trucks. And there is a vision, there is a goal that's been, that presides me, but I'm in full support of this circular green economy that we're trying to do here. So I'll let the other council members make comments. I'll let the other council members make comments before I make a motion.
Like the rest of the council, we're not taking this lightly, and it isn't just, I think someone mentioned, this isn't just one decision. It has many implications with North County corridor, with the state's mandates, with everything we're talking about in this agenda even. And we don't take this lightly. So I appreciate absolutely everybody for coming to speak to us, because we've spoken to, labor individually, folks who are opposing, and everyone in between. So we do take the time, and we don't take it lightly.
Donna, you have some comments?
Thank you, Mayor. For the person who mentioned that they thought there was too much reading in 4 days, these documents have actually been out since the August 11th Planning Commission meeting, so they've had over a month and a week in order to review these documents. Another question, whether or not Aemetis actually filed an appeal. While we don't have that appeal document attached to the staff report, they did file an appeal the very day after they received the denial from the Planning Commission. And then, as the speaker who mentioned downtown traffic, I was also going to mention the North County corridor would be the perfect opportunity for trucks to enter and leave the area. Thank you.
Right. I've already made my statements.
I'll make a motion to approve item 10.1.
I second the motion.
We have a motion to approve and a second. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Uribe?
Yes.
Councilmember Jones Cruz?
Yes.
Councilmember Barbara Martinez?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hernandez?
Yes.
Mayor O'Brien?
Yes.
Item passes 5-0.
Thank you. Item 11.1, Cheese and Wine Festival discussion. We'll get to give a minute. Yeah. Darlene's going to recuse herself. We'll give a minute while you. Oh, yeah, that's locked over there. All right, so may we clear the chamber so we can get moving? Thank you very much. We're going to proceed to item 11.1, Cheese and Wine Festival discussions.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I want to thank you for the opportunity to be able to bring this item back for discussion. At the last meeting, we were supposed to bring to you a marketing plan, and that was the intent of and follow up from the initial February 2023 meeting that we held regarding the festival. So today, because of the lack of information that we failed to provide to you that day. We wanted to come back and be able to provide that information, not only to the city council, but to the members of our public who expected that information from us. In addition, there was additional discussion at that point in time regarding a potential amendment to our boundary map, which back in February, we had discussed our boundary map going from 7th Street to 4th Street. And there, of course, have been concerns expressed by our downtown businesses about not including them, which they had historically have been. So marketing plan that has been developed for the Cheese and Wine Festival. Of course, we will have banners that we will be placing at key intersections within the city. Those banners have been printed and will be placed out shortly. We, of course, have the ongoing social media postings on our Riverbank Parks and Recreation Facebook, our City of Riverbank Facebook, our Riverbank Cheese and Wine Exposition Facebook, and SMA Entertainment themselves have also been posting via their social media platforms. We also have flyers that have been going out to members of the public. We did share those flyers with our downtown businesses for posting. They have been disseminated at other community events, as well as available here at City Hall and at our library, and handed out during some of our programs during the summertime. We have radio advertising, which is going to start the October 2nd. We have contracts already signed with the River 105.5, Cumulus Media, who oversees Cat Country 103, the Hawk, K-Hop 95.1, and K-Win 98.3, iHeartMedia, who oversees Mega 100. And for our Spanish-speaking residents, we'll be having spots on Radio Láser 93.9. The security plan was included in your staff report. It was based off of the discussions between the Sheriff's Department and city staff and our consultant as well. It details the staffing plan for both the Sheriff's Department and the security guards that will be present during the entirety of the event. It also includes security measures such as the perimeter fencing, the barricade locations, portable camera trailer station that we'll have, and those entry and exit points, and the responsibilities that will be upheld by the security guards there, which includes making sure that none of the prohibited items will be coming through our fencing. And so we will have security wands in order to ensure that. And now to the discussion regarding the boundary maps. This is the boundary map that was initially shared with the city council, and it was a point of discussion during our February cheese and wine update. What one of the concerns was from the prior year was the fact that the cheese and wine tasting, which is held at the community center, did not feel like it was incorporated into our festival. Last year, we made the decision to start the fencing at 5th Street, which is basically where the vendor area started. And so there was no activities around the community center. This year, we, of course, heard the feedback from the city council. And so in order to incorporate the cheese and wine or the community center, we will start our fencing at 7th Street. And then, I can't, this one's not going to be so, can't really tell from my pointer here. So we'll start at 7th Street and there'll be a stage there. There'll be seating available for our residents so that they can, grab their funnel cakes or their Lockford sausages and sit there and enjoy the bands. We'll have the kids zone available there so that all the parents with their children who come in will be able to take advantage of all of the different games that are going to be set up. We then have a car show that is slated to go on for the 2-day period. The car show and the car clubs themselves have also been doing a lot of advertising on our behalf in order to get more members of their clubs to be able to participate in the show itself. Once we get to 6th Street, we have the vendor area that begins. This vendor area was set anticipating approximately 100 vendors. At that time, when we came forward in February, the hope had been to achieve more than 100 vendors. As of the last count, I believe we have 52 vendors, I apologize, that have actually signed up. We do get quite a few that sign up last minute. Some of them kind of wait in order to gather their funds together to be able to come in after they've gone to other festivals.
Do we happen to know at what point we hit 100 vendors last year?
I'm not sure that we reached 100 vendors exactly, but that is always the goal. And so we would then have another stage at 5th Street near the library. We would set up additional seating there as well to break up the vendor areas. And then it would extend down to 4th Street. Main entrances are currently set for that intersection of 4th Street and Santa Fe, and then a second entrance down at Stanislaus and 6th Street. So that is option one. That is the option that the security plan currently takes into consideration. That is the option that some of the vendors that we have been seeking in terms of the fencing, staging areas, etc., the number of security guards that we have taken into consideration for that. Option number two would be to reincorporate the downtown businesses that are located between 3rd Street and 4th Street. So we would still have a similar layout around the community center. We would still start at 7th Street with the community stage there, and then have our vendors start at 6th Street. From there, this still anticipates only 100 vendors. We are not expecting that within the next 2 weeks that we would get 150 vendors or 160 vendors, which would approximately be the amount that we would need in order to really fill that area. If we were to stretch this out in order to have it feel like one cohesive event, which is exactly what we were trying to avoid by excluding the community center last year, is that we would have to stretch out the number of vendors, and it may cause the festival to feel a bit sparse. We would need to incorporate the stage or in the downtown plaza area, although we currently don't have anything that we have planned and scheduled for that area. So it basically would be just another spot for our residents to be able to sit down and enjoy their food. The entrance would now be at 3rd Street and Santa Fe rather than 4th Street. And we would still have just the one entrance down at Stanislaus and 6th. We have discussed the fact that there are potential additional costs associated, of course, with the fencing, the possibility that we may need additional security guards. I don't want the city council to feel that the additional costs should dissuade you from making a decision that you feel would be in the best interest of the city as well as our downtown businesses. One of the items that I want to highlight is that with the original layout, we had already planned to make sure that we were marketing our downtown businesses, especially at those entry and exit areas, is that we wanted to put signage out that said, please visit our downtown businesses, just to make sure that they were able to get residents that were coming in that were not familiar with them would be able to see, who's there and what they do.
I think some directional signage of where the entrances are, since we don't have any on the north side. So, but I love the idea of having those visit downtown signs scattered throughout, making sure our electric sign at the waterfall is blasting visit downtown while we have that influx of people. I think that's a good idea.
And so that's the end of my staff report. I do have our two staff members, Ron Werner, who's our park supervisor, and Anthony Lemons, our recreation supervisor, who are both heavily involved with the planning of the event, who might be available to answer any specific questions you may have.
Is the car show going to be fenced off? It is.
The car show will not be fenced off in itself. It's going to be incorporated into the fenced area that we have already set.
So we have a car show going down 6th.
It's going down Santa Fe between 7th Street and 6th Street. We really don't anticipate that little area that's there. We hope we get enough cars to be able to do that. The width doesn't really lend itself for them to be there because they need to be parked diagonally or parallel. So it doesn't allow for us to add a whole lot more vehicles. We hope we can get it, but with some of the width that the fire department needs in order to get the fire truck through, we don't think it's really going to work. So it's mainly
I
going to be.
agree. If we reduce that area to where the entrance is closer to Santa Fe, and that will alleviate a little bit of your additional fencing requirements. Think about
Somewhat,
it.
yes.
Think about it. I'm not saying do it. I'm just saying it could. If that's a concern, we're going to have X amount anyway for car show.
It's probably just going to alleviate a little bit of it because we would still need to make sure we block off the alleyway so that we force everybody to enter through Stanislaus rather than the alleyway.
Okay, all right.
So that would be the only consideration that we would need to take into effect.
Like to add in there that from doing the downtown market on Tuesdays, I know that to fill this entire block right here from 3rd to 4th on both sides of the street, you had to have about 60 vendors. You can do about 30 on each side, depending on if you have the larger food vendors with their big trailers and whatever on the ends. But just to have a regular 10 by 10, 60 would fill both sides. So if we're talking 50, we're talking we're going to talk 2 blocks and 50. It's going to be sparse anyway. So I think we need to, one, be realistic and go, yes, we have every good intention to get enough vendors down there. But reality, if I do my math right, yes, I teach math. You got 3 blocks here with 60 to fill both sides. You need 180 vendors. And I asked Maricela when was the last time we had 180 vendors at our Cheese and Wine Festival, and those were way back when we had Chris Rickey there. So I think we really need to be realistic on, we're not going to be filling the downtown. And I know I've been pretty vocal and pretty upfront about my feelings of that, but I just think, and I want everyone to know here, that that's the reality. If you don't have enough vendors to fill that, then having this option is just not even in the I mean, in my opinion. I just think it would, I think aesthetically it would look really poor, like we had nothing out there. So
I'm gonna have to agree with that. So now it's not a question of whether or not we support the businesses, rather how can we make this event as successful as possible? So I would be hesitant to expand the boundary.
And with the comments from the last meeting about the downtown businesses, I think it's pretty clear that that was not even taken into consideration anyway. And again, that's my opinion. But with that said, I'm gonna let it go. I think we need to back it down because at this point in time, having 50 vendors is what we can count on right this minute. And if we even get to 100, that's still not filling 2 blocks. So I think that's all I have to say about tonight's.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree. I think we should close it off on 4th Street. If we're doing 60 and 60, we'd have to hit 120. We didn't hit 100 last year, so realistically, option 1 makes the most sense.
I've been a proponent of evaluating at the end of this event whether or not we change the scope of the cheese and wine. We're trying to duplicate past successes, and we haven't been able to do that. Do we hold it to a one-day event? Do we hold it down at Jacob Myers Park for that one day? Where it's or whatever. We need to come up with what will happen to the cheese and wine after this event. It's going to have to be analytical. It's going to have to be driven by economics. It's going to have to be by the successes that the vendors have, and also the downtown, what we want to do. Do we really need it? Or can we have it on a Tuesday night? Like,
Can we have it at Aemetis? Just saying. They have a huge facility.
okay. So, is there any other further discussion on this?
So I think what I'm hearing is that option one, which is the original boundary map that we presented to the city council, is the preferred option, given the fact that we currently only have 50 vendors.
That's what we're saying, and that we critically have to analyze the need for the cheese and wine.
Most certainly. And we always appreciate the comments that we get from our residents and our city council after the fact, which helps us do our debrief. And we will always come back to the city council with that debrief along with the financial aspect of it.
Okay. I appreciate the efforts, truly do, of the staff. Thank you.
And thank you for revisiting the marketing plan.
Okay, we're going to continue item, can we get Darlene? Or can we just do this without her? We need her. They were talking about not bringing you back. Okay, 11.2, American Rescue Plan Act Spending Plan Update.
Well, hopefully this discussion provides to be more lively. It is a discussion regarding the American Rescue Plan Act. This plan was brought forward to the City Council back in September of 2022. The American Rescue Plan is direct funding that we received from the federal government in order to aid the cities to get us through COVID, be able to provide for additional programs for our residents, to be able to provide funding for infrastructure improvements, particularly in areas of water and sewer. And then they also provided an opportunity for cities to recapture lost revenue during COVID. So that is the area that we focused on, was a recapturing of funds that we lost during COVID. We were actually extremely lucky that our sales tax did not wane during that time. Our property tax was steady, and so we did not see a huge financial impact. But this did give council an opportunity to address programs that we had been discussing in previous years and in our strategic plan, as well as projects that had been on the back burner due to lack of funding. I wanted to give you an update today because as much as we all enjoyed the thought of free money and being able to take advantage of funding these programs, sometimes the funding just isn't enough, especially in this day and age where material costs have skyrocketed in absolutely every aspect. So as I mentioned, the original plan was approved in September of 2022, and our plan covered areas of infrastructure, park and public spaces, property purchase, COVID-19 mitigation, and grant programs. And we had a couple of other miscellaneous items that we sprinkled in there as well. The total funding that we received was approximately $5.95 million. So our original budget at that point in time was the $5.95 million, and we allocated funds to specific projects in the amount of 5.1, almost 5.2 million. That left us a bit of a reserve and allocated funds of $775,000. Now that we have been able to proceed with design and bidding certain projects, particularly those related to infrastructure and public improvements, we have come back to the city council and recommended awarding bids for projects that have come in over budget, particularly when compared to the original engineer's estimate, which was the basis for the allocation. So as of last week, that updated spending plan with the projects that have gone out to bid is more like almost $6.1 million, which is about 128,000 short of what we need in order to complete all of the projects that are there. The items that are highlighted in green are going to be items that we have not yet bid out. So they are either in design phase or they were projects that we said we really feel like these are projects we want to be able to take on as part of this funding that we've received. So we had not yet received any quotes, but we had hoped to be able to come back with quotes so that that unallocated balance of $775,000 could go towards these projects. So Jacob Myers parking lot, we originally allocated $214,000. You'll notice it still says $214,000 under updated cost. But the engineer's estimate that we have received, and this is just based off of the design, this is not based off of any bids, is over $600,000. We are looking at different alternatives. We had hoped for a beautifully paved area, but we think that we may have to go back and revisit those original plans. The Jacob Myers Park Trail extension, we had originally allocated $51,500 for the work that the Conservation Corps would be performing. Unfortunately, the Army Corps of Engineers, who currently owns that property and was going to be nice enough to lease it to us so that we could build our trail, said that we needed to update the environmental document. So that required that we hire a consultant to be able to do that at the tune of $50,000. Jackson and Stanislaus Park site, this monies had been originally allocated as part of the property purchase at Jackson and Stanislaus. It had been the city's council's desire to allocate these funds to be able to build a public park site at that area. This is also the area where we have our transitional housing development project that we have received 2 requests for proposals from that we are evaluating. So the funding is still there to allow for reimbursement of that particular portion of the project, but it is a project that has not yet started. The Plaza del Rio audio project, I'm sure many of you have come to downtown during the morning and afternoon time and have heard, maybe the sounds of some rock music or some jazz, and that is from our audio project. So we were able to implement that. It gives us the ability to be able to really use our stage and make sure that we're projecting throughout all of downtown, and just adds a bit to the atmosphere when you're down here. The downtown lighting improvements was a project we had hoped to be able to go get quotes from. The downtown businesses had started to have discussions amongst themselves about some potential improvements. Those bids did not come to fruition. So we will look at other opportunities to be able to have some lighting improvements here. But as you'll notice, the original budget says TBD or to be determined because it wasn't something that we had any bids readily available for. So these projects in themselves came in basically over budget by $64,000. Energy and under infrastructure, the first 3, the energy efficiency project and the well lift station security and the fencing for RPS have already come to council. The well and lift station security system has already been completed. The energy efficiency project has underway, and so those budgets will not change. The fencing, unfortunately, came in over budget again because of the bids that we received, and we had to allocate an additional $94,000. What's not included here is the fact that we are going to do some ADA improvements to the museum itself, and that's going to be an additional $30,000 that will be coming forward. 7th Street Storm Drain, which is a project that has been on the back burner for probably 10 years or so. I still remember when that initially failed. We had allocated $400,000. We went out to bid. It has not yet been awarded. The bid came in at $776,000. So it's $376,000 over budget. And the EV charging stations, we will be placing 2 charging stations at the community center at a cost of about $20,000. So that may give us an additional $20,000 to look at other alternatives throughout the city.
Looked at the Air Board's EV charging program.
So the EV charging program will be able to give us the actual charging stations themselves. The $19,000 that we allocated for the community center site is actually just the wiring. So we'll be able to take advantage of the program in order to actually put the charging station in.
Have other programs too that are allowed for low-income housing, such as our apartments, 2 stations each. So all of that is available at no cost to the consumer, although we, the people, will have words about that, along with Princess Diane's death.
We have charging stations at Crossroads West.
So yes, so all of the new developments, especially the commercial sites, will be required to install the infrastructure for the charging stations. Crossroads West development, the commercial site, is actually looking to place charging stations in. We will also have the community center, senior community center here at the corner of 3rd Street and Stanislaus, who will also be putting infrastructure, not the actual station, but the infrastructure for 4 charging stations. And so you'll notice under infrastructure, we're over budget by $471,000. We have held off on issuing or awarding the bid for the 7th Street storm drain because we're short monies, that $128,000 basically. These are the property purchase improvements that we made. So we purchased the Sierra House Shelter, Jackson and Stanislaus property were purchased, and the downtown parking lot. So the downtown parking lot included not just the purchase price, but also the improvements. So hopefully you've driven by and you've seen the wonderful improvements that we've made there. But the improvements came in $219,000 over our original estimate. So this area or this section of the cost is over budget by $223,000. And then we had some COVID mitigation funds that we set aside. The majority was with regards to premium or hazard pay for our employees. So those were directly negotiated through their labor agreements. And then we have the variety of grant programs that we established, our downtown facade program, our nonprofit grant program, which proved to be highly successful. We had $20,000 left over within that program. And then we have our Volt program grants that we will be issuing. And then we had put as a placeholder turf replacement program, but our existing turf replacement program funds have proven to be very successful. So we have not yet allocated any funds from here because we do have funding available through our water department. And some of the other extra projects that we threw in, but we did not have any budgets allocated for, was social media, branding, and then translation services. Those are still 2 areas that are of extreme importance to the city. I myself, have listened to the comments of a few residents, including a comment or 2 comments that we received today. The fact that the majority of our, well, not a majority, I will take back, a large portion of our residents are Spanish speaking. And so allowing them access and having our documents translated in a language that they can understand is of high importance to us all. So we are starting to do that a lot with all of our new documents coming out. But there are larger documents that we would need to hire somebody to do that because that's what they do. City staff doesn't do that on a daily basis. We can handle the smaller documents that come through, but having access to someone who can do that for our larger documents, more technical documents, would be of benefit to us all. And then, of course, social media and branding, PIO branding, that is of importance to make sure that we're getting the word out about all of these great projects that the city is working on. We do ask, applicants who come in with new projects to, be their own advocates, but then we can also do our part to make sure that our residents are aware of all of these projects that are being worked on and an understanding of where they are in the process so that there's no confusion when they come forward to the city council or to the planning commission. So with that, I mentioned that we were over budget with all of those projects and programs that already have funds allocated, with the additional funds that we're going to need for the 7th Street outfall by about $128,000. So what we wanted to be able to discuss with the city council is, do we explore alternative funding for the remaining projects? For example, the $128,000 that's going to be necessary to be able to fund the 7th Street outfall, we will need to look at possible funding from the general fund. Second option would be to review those projects that were highlighted in green and that haven't yet started, and just simply reallocate the funds to those projects that are already in progress. So for example, taking funds in infrastructure from the, let's say from the Jacob Myers Park parking lot and transition that funding over to the funding that we need for the 7th Street outfall, and then simply leave unfunded for the time being that project. The third option is just we simply remove projects that haven't been awarded and hope that sometime in the future we can come back and find some other alternative funding source. Although options 2 and 3 may sound similar, option 2 sort of leaves all of those projects that are unfunded on the list in the event that should we, because a lot of our projects have contingencies built into them, should we not, have those contingencies used, that we would be able to come back and say, well, we've got additional funding, let's allocate it back to those projects we were not able to start.
What if we prioritize the projects and look at what we can do now? If there's funding for it, we do it. But if not, then we have to put it on the back burner.
And that's certainly one of the options that we have too.
I agree with that. One of the items we've been struggling with now for 8 years is the 7th Street outfall. And that it took over $100,000 in 2015-16, if I'm not mistaken. And that was just temporary. We need to get that corrected.
And it is starting to fail again, unfortunately.
So that cannot be excluded. All the other ones you have spent. You showed the facade program. We haven't spent any of that, have we?
Well, this is just the budget. This doesn't look at what we've spent. So with some of those programs, especially with the facade improvement program, we allocate the funds to the different businesses that have come through our process already. And then they go and they do the construction work, and then we actually pay the funds out. So it works on a reimbursement basis.
So that's already set aside.
So it's already
committed.
Correct.
Okay, let's go back to the park. How much is the park at Jackson Stanislaus?
The park at Jackson and Stanislaus, we set aside $200,000.
So if you take a look at that and try going through the grant program, that we could probably justify either through our consortium or whatever, saying, because this is going to be a, what is the category? It's low income. It's actually no income, which we may be able to try to get.
Unfortunately, the funds that we get through the consortium, because you're thinking of the CDBG funds from Stanislaus County, can only be used in a census tract that's considered low income. That area of town, because we have a few nice
I got it.
subdivisions in that area that
Can't
are
just take
existing.
what we have.
No, unfortunately not.
I'd like to bring up the Jacob Myers parking lot. I'm wondering why at this point in time, if we're worried about meeting some of these, that's a huge expense that, in my opinion, I think we can put on a back burner. I don't see any problem with parking where it is now in the dirt. I mean, this is an overflow. We have a nice paved parking lot for it, and I know it might be a good project to do in the future, but I personally would like to see that one maybe put on hold for a while and focus on some of these others that we think might be more important. And with that said, wouldn't this be a fine item to bring forward with some strategic planning? Since I've been on the council, I haven't heard anything talked about or suggested. Maybe Mayor brought up one time about some strategic planning, but I recall in the past, it was kind of cool to be able to get together in the strategic planning at least once a quarter and maybe prioritize some of these things in a workshop forum. And I would really like to see that happen again. So this might be something that's ideal for that kind of activity.
Yes, and the goal with the Jacob Myers parking lot was to be able to have it designed in such a way that it would allow for additional parking, particularly during the summer times when we get pretty swamped and we're having to close. I think we're at capacity. There was a few days we were at capacity, probably around 11 o'clock in the morning. So we wanted to be able to allow just for some additional parking there. That was the original intent. Of course, the original design, like I said, envisions a beautiful paved parking lot, but there may be opportunities to continue with DG or with some other aggregate, and just simply keep it that way.
I use it often to take my dogs over to the dog park, and I've been in there in inclement weather too, and it's not bad. I mean, it's not like it's a big mud puddle at all. So
So, with the parking lot and the vault, have we committed vault?
We have not committed it because we want to issue them as grants to students, graduating seniors. So normally those get awarded at the end of the school year. So that's why the funds are set aside, but they aren't committed.
I hate to take it away, but
have we used any of those in the past?
No, this would be the first year that we would implement
and we
the
didn't
grant
use it
program.
this year.
Correct.
So what we need to do is come up with some type of a grant program. There are over $5 billion worth of grants and that are not for education, follow-on education, that are not used each year. So maybe there's something that we could tap into. I'm just saying, because we have the outfall, that is a requirement. So with the parking lot and the grant, or for the Volt grant, that's $335,000, and we're how much?
Initially, we were 128,000 short, but we will be, basically what we need is the 376 for the 7th Street.
So
storm
you
drain.
have, right, so yeah, that's 335,000. You're not gonna get that much that you haven't committed or already spent left, unless you downgrade with the 7th Street storm drain, which you're not going to want to do. That's my leaning, is to go consolidate the Volt grant program in the parking lot. And then we have to come up with the remainder. What's the difference on the outfall?
376,000.
So we are $41,000, and I think that we bite the bullet and take that from our general fund. I mean, we have to. That's my leaning.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with those comments. I think probably the cleanest way to do this is to prioritize them, like Councilmember Darlene said. Prioritize them. We probably could remove completely the turf replacement program. The 25K that's going to that program is sufficient. Prioritizing the translation services because half our majority of the community doesn't know what we're doing. So that and the 7th Street storm drain should be at the top of the list for funding. And then just prioritizing the rest, and then as we go.
I would also really like to see this TBD for the downtown lighting improvement to be an actual figure, and I'd like to keep that one in there. I think that we need to do some outreach, and our downtown is thriving, and I know I've said that, and I think we need to continue to support anything to continue that movement.
Yeah, absolutely.
Would you be willing to start a business industrial district?
Say that again?
Are we willing to do a BID for the downtown area to where the businesses will also, we just spent, how much was it? $8.7 million just for this downtown, and including the lighting, adding, the one estimate was over 200,000. What do we need to do? I'd like to see some type of plan come up, and then if we can meet it, then figure out how we're going to raise the fund for it. But it should not be streets and roads, which would be an option. Because then we spend a lot of money with, and all the businesses had their inputs.
So I agree with the direction it's headed and prioritize ranking the projects and getting some numbers behind them. I want to emphasize the 7th Street, of course, but beyond social media, I mean, just general communication, I think we're seeing it come up over and over again, and the translation services.
We have nothing committed for the translation, do we?
Nothing committed, but we are working with the contractor that we've used in the past and sending them, documents kind of as needed.
And that should also be a general fund because that is our requirement.
I agree.
Okay. So now that we depleted the general fund and
Tammy won't be happy with us.
So do you have, well, no, the new finance director
Yeah.
who bolted out of here right after.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think I have enough direction from staff from the city council regarding the 2 projects that we're going to reallocate the funds from, and hopefully in the future we'll look for some alternative funding for those as well. So we will bring back a plan that'll also give the city council an opportunity to continue to look at these projects so that we can have that discussion about prioritization.
All right. Thank you very much. We're going to move on to item 11.3, a resolution to approve McRoy Wilbur Communities reimbursement of PLHA grant and former redevelopment low moderate income housing funds for River Terrace subdivision.
So Mayor and Council, this item is a request that we have received from McRoy Wilbur, who now actually has taken over the former Ward Villas project. It's now known as River Terrace. Back in 2020, we had received a request to be able to provide funding for this project in order to keep it affordable. It's a 28-unit project that was going to be a for sale project. We thought this was going to be an absolutely wonderful opportunity for our lower income residents to become homeowners, which is everybody's, American dream. We provided $540,000 in funding. We allocated 3 years of our PLHA funds. The PLHA funds come with very specific income limit requirements. Initially, we had hoped that the residents who were going to purchase these homes would fall under the 80% income limit. That would allow them to also apply for our first-time homebuyer funding, which provides $100,000 in funding for first-time homebuyers, in be able to purchase these homes that would be reasonably priced compared to the market rate homes that are being built in other areas of town. through a multitude of discussions. Unfortunately, through the significant cost increases that we've seen in materials and supplies, the delays that we've had from PG&E, who have caused delays at other subdivisions within our city, the rising interest rates, and the fact that our residents during COVID may have used their credit card a little bit more than they normally would have, thus affecting their credit scores, kind of, caused this issue of just not being able to have the numbers work. When we were looking at some initial estimates of what mortgages would look like, it was in the $3,300 to $3,500 range per month. That is not affordable to our residents, unfortunately. We tried different ways of deferring fees, of perhaps looking at having them repay the funds back at a later date, but the numbers just simply did not work. We worked with the developer. We worked with Mr. Kerry Pope, who originally held the project. We worked with lenders. We worked with real estate agents. We had finance staff in there, Tammy, myself, our housing division specialist, Letty, she was in there as well. And unfortunately, 10 brains did not work together to be able to come up with a solution to be able to make this project just work. And so the request that we've received from McRoy Wilbur is that they would like to repay the funds back to the city of Riverbank. The reason why we're bringing it forward to the city council is that we they have requested that this be repaid per lot. So we will need to have a lien placed on each of the properties so that upon closing, they will repay the funds. So that is the request for today. If this item is approved tonight, then we would bring forward a subsequent item to the city council to consider how we want to spend the funds that are going to come back to the city. PLHA has other opportunities. Once again, we could address other housing developments that are coming down the pipeline. There are two very interesting for rent projects that have expressed interest in having the city provide some subsidies to their projects. So that could be an opportunity we explore. There's also an opportunity to be able to develop a down payment assistance program. Many of our residents who are ready to purchase may not have the down payment available to be able to proceed with the purchase. So that may be an opportunity for us to develop a program with different income level restrictions than what our existing programs currently have. So this would open it up to a wider and broader spectrum of residents. So those are the options that will come back at a later date if this item is approved. But tonight's item is simply approving the lien that's going to be placed so that McRoy Wilbur can repay those on a per lot basis.
Thank you. Any comments before we open it up? Okay, I'm going to open it up for anyone wanting to comment on this item.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, City Council. As most of you know, I was involved at the beginning of this, and it's been, as Maricela indicated, it's been disappointing at best that we weren't able to, make this as affordable as we would have liked for a myriad of reasons. I mean, and based on your other discussion on costs, I mean, they've just gone through the roof. So that coupled with interest rates just really hammered us. One item that I wasn't aware of is that, once those funds are repaid, then are you at discretion as to what you can use them for as far as, doing your own down payment assistance program? And if so, couldn't it be for this project?
That would have to be another discussion. Once we
I'm
approve
putting
this,
forth-
then we can move forward.
Yeah, I'm putting forth some ideas that we might be able to, so that we can still, try to, keep the affordability. But anyway, we've worked hard on this. Maricela and others, Letty and others, we really did try to put our heads together, but you know, the economy kind of went against us on that one. So I'll answer any questions if you have any.
No questions. I just want to applaud you for, as a developer, just taking on this hurdle of affordable housing and how hard it really is for a city to kind of step in and try to help, and then receiving all these hurdles. So appreciate what you've done, and it's unfortunate that we won't have them as affordable as we'd like. But thank you.
Thanks. I think that it might behoove us to, you know, maybe even at a later time form a committee to see if we can't, you know, capture some of that. The laundry list of what it takes to get affordable housing funds is lengthy. I've been involved in it elsewhere, and it's very cumbersome, but not insurmountable. So you know, I'm available to serve on that if necessary. So thank you.
And to comment back on that last comment by Mr. Pope is that our housing element will evaluate impediments to, you know, the development of housing. And so the community meetings that are going to be held as part of that process will be a good forum to be able to have those discussions.
Any other comments? Bring it back for consideration or discussion.
I'd like to go ahead and make a motion that we accept this item as stated.
I'll second it.
We have a motion to approve and a second on item 11.3. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Uribe,
Yes.
Councilmember Jones Cruz,
Yes.
Councilmember Barbara Martinez,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hernandez,
Yes.
and Mayor O'Brien.
Yes.
Item passes 5-0.
Comments? 12.1, staff?
None from me today.
Very good. Councilmember Jones Cruz.
Thank you, Mayor. I've said quite a lot tonight and I'm a little hoarse, but I still have some things I'd like to say. I know you guys thought I was flippant when I said something about Aemetis. We put a spectacular event on down there, Mayor, when we had the Secretary of the Navy here celebrating the conveyance. And I just want to say, I think there's opportunities for other things to happen out there. They have a fenced space with a big, huge parking lot and I'm just saying, I really wasn't being totally flippant when I said we need to maybe think outside the box here. With that said, tonight's meeting was very tough to sit up here on the dais, but I want to enforce and kind of send home a message that that process is important. It's important to sit here and hear everybody's comments because each and every one of those comments are valuable in their own right. And I appreciate and applaud everybody that came out and spoke tonight on either side. It's a really tough thing to do, to get up there at the mic and talk. And I can totally appreciate all sides of the coin. And that's the process. And I really appreciate them doing that. With that said, I attended a planning commission meeting because I had met with my neighbors regarding a issue they had. And then I also went back and watched another planning commission meeting. And I knew what I was getting into before watching it, but actually seeing one of the gentlemen get up and approach the dais with something that they didn't know what happened. My first comment was, did we have police services there? And I know city manager has addressed that with me personally. And I just wanted to say, I know they are going to include some police services at some of those meetings, but I would like to see them at all meetings. I think it's important for people sitting on the dais in those kind of positions to feel safe and have someone in the back watching out for them and watching out for their safety. I felt that tonight, and I appreciate Riverbank Police Services being here. Nothing happened, and it was completely acceptable, but I would really like to see that. And I also just wanted to thank the Planning Commission. It's not easy to sit up and take that kind of comments, but that's our jobs. And again, that process is important to go through. So thank you.
Councilmember Uribe.
Thank you, Mayor. So the American Events Center is going to be having their grand opening tomorrow. It's going to be at 6436 Oakdale Road. They're going to be having some venue tours. They want to be showcasing their state-of-the-art event center. And then an open house on the 14th this week also from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. So if you're free tomorrow, 10:30 to 1 p.m. I'll see you there.
Thank you. Councilmember Barbara Martinez.
Tomorrow will be the Stanislaus Homeless Alliance meeting, and it'll be at 1010 10th Street, starting at 5:30 to about 7:30. And again, this is how we take a look at a representation from all over Stanislaus County. We take a look at how we regionally can address homelessness in our areas. So thank you.
Vice Mayor?
And tomorrow is also our Stanislaus Council of Governments meeting that's going to address some of the things like our unmet transit needs and transportation in general. And I just wanted to mention that although we're not all going to agree on everything, I mentioned this various times, and in individual meetings, it's important for us to over communicate with each other, because a lot of the things I think that were being addressed tonight, or we mentioned things that have been ongoing already, and we need to have intentional conversations in community meetings and engagement.
Thank you. I have a couple. One is yesterday, 22 years ago, was the attack on the World Trade Center, the Pentagon, and where else it would have been, but it was a pastor in Pennsylvania, and it was an attack on the entire nation. Not just crediting one little group, but it was crediting to the entire nation on how their resilience were in fighting terror. And we did not give in. That's what they expected. They expected us to cower like some of the other areas that we backed off on, Somalia, Beirut, Vietnam. So they expected us to fold, and they were wrong. We have not. So as we move forward, let's come out entirely as a nation, collectively, not only on the war and terror, but as we conduct our businesses. Arena numbers are out, and we need to go forward with them. I'm glad that we're moving as quickly as possible. We need to come up with a strong plan as we move forward. We're not going to get them all, but we won't even get them close, even if everything that's planned is built. Again, we mentioned translation services, and we all want to emphasize how important that is to us. We've been talking about it since 2014. It was the second law passed and signed by Commodore Sloat. First one was Monterey was the capital. Second was everything written in English will be written in Spanish. So let's bring that back. And as we move forward with a lot of our affordable housing and ownership, not everyone needs to own a home. It's not always the American dream, at least not initially. Less than 60% own homes in California, and most are concerned about their home ownership and how it keeps them in debt or trapped. So let's take a look at ways that we can get the American dream to be other than home ownership. With that, I'm going to move forward to the closed session. Item 13.1, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, significant exposure to litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9 Delta. Number of potential cases 1. Is there anyone wishing to comment on this? If not, we'll adjourn to closed session.